This stream is cleared for takeoff. Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to our May Developer live stream for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hope you're having a lovely spring and, of course, logging plenty of hours in the sim. My name is Jayne. I am the Senior Community Manager for Microsoft Flight Simulator, hosting today's stream. We do look forward to answering many of your questions this morning. Before we get started, I already see a lot of people in chat doing this, but let me know what country you're tuning in from. It's really fun to see how globally diverse our audience is. While you do that, I'll just go ahead and introduce today's panel. I'd like to welcome back Jorg Neumann, head of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hey Jorg, how are you today?
Hey all, good to see you. And yes, with glasses.
Great to have you back. In the middle, we have Sebastian Wloch, CEO of Asobo Studio. Hello, Seb.
Hello.
Welcome back. No glasses today, I see. To the right, we have Chris Burnett joining us today, co-founder at Working Title. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Good to see everyone.
Absolutely. I already see there's so many places I sometimes wouldn't even expect you'd be tuning in from, but it's great to have everybody join us wherever you're at. We have received a ton of great questions already. We do look forward to answering those. Plus, of course, as we always do, we'll answer plenty of live stream questions from you today. We do ask that you hold on to those questions until we're in a Q&A session. That'll be very obvious in the slides. It'll have Q&A in the title, and that's when we'll start looking at all the questions in chat while we answer the pre-submitted ones as well. We also have a special guest to introduce you to a little bit later on. That'll be a fun time, but first I'll go ahead and hand the mic off to Jorg to start our presentation.
Thank you, Jayne. Hi, everyone. Want to start up by saying thank you, like I often do, again. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for those who participated in the Sim Update 2 flighting effort, and thank you for all the encouraging messages we got about Sim Update 2. All reached the team, and it meant a lot, so thank you for that. I was actually slightly shocked. It's been 2 months since the last Dev Q&A on March 14th. All the teams had been really heads down addressing the many top priority issues for Sim Update 2 as quickly as possible. And I just wanted to show you the feedback snapshot real quick. If you just scroll through this. So we captured the top 120 issues. During SU2, we fixed 37, 7 were partially fixed. Since launch, we fixed 62, and 24 are in progress, and 29 are still under investigation. So all in all, we think we made major progress, but there's also still a lot to do, and we'll talk about this later when we talk about Sim Update 3 a little bit. And then wanted to thank all the contributing teams. Obviously, Asobo, huge team, pushing hard. Working Title pushing hard, and then there's other contributing companies that are making Sim Update to what it is. Then I want to say, just in case you missed it, we actually did launch this last week on GeForce Now, which is kind of cool. If you ever tried the service, it helps you with frame rate and things like that. So interesting stats. Just wanted to share it with you guys. And then looking at the roadmap, so this is where we are. So we obviously shipped City Update 10. We wanted to ship a local legend in May and a famous fly in April. And frankly, we were so heads down with Sim Update 2 that we've moved those back later in the year, and I'll show that at the end of the deck. But we did ship Sim Update 2, as we just said, if you go to the next slide. And I just wanted to take a moment before we go to our Dev Q&A and all this stuff to spend a minute honoring a very special person, Thomas Kohlhund. I don't know if you know him. Alias was Buffy CG. He's the creator of the famous and unique bush trip injector, and he passed away in March. And I don't know how many of you knew Thomas. Obviously, Seb and I met him a few times. He was a really wonderful guy, full of life, energy, optimism, and he dedicated much of his life to our hobby. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything that Thomas has done. All right, and let's look at the questions that you sent in.
Okay, we're going to start with a couple follow-ups from our last stream. We have 2 questions here. The first question is, are there any plans to revert to pre-SU1 lighting exposure settings? This was asked in the last stream, and we said we'd follow up on this. It wasn't changed in the final release of Sim Update 1.
Yeah, so I talked to the team, the tech artists on the team, and they said that in the very final sim update 2 release, it should be all fixed. So that's what they told me, and I would say if that's the case, then cool. If there's still something which is not quite correct, please add more info. They also told me that the thread didn't have any new posts or questions since the very last version of the sim update 2 build was made. So they think it's all good. But if there's still something which is not all right, don't hesitate posting and giving us more info, and we'll look into it again. But so far, what the team said is all good. Should be done. Should be fixed.
Yeah, thank you, Seb. We'll definitely look out in the forums if anybody wants to post any further feedback on that. Second question, might we see multiplayer liveries make a return in Sim Update 2? It was an awesome feature in 2020 that we would love to see come back in the new Sim.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about this one, and we have some further discussion on sort of AI traffic livery and model matching and so forth a little bit later in the conversation. But the answer is yes. We've got this as a work item right now for SU3. There's already been some fixes put in for this, specifically for the non-modular 2020 aircraft compatibility with multiplayer. And the teams, both the Asobo team and the working title teams, are working on the modular 2024 aircraft liveries as well for multiplayer. So you should look for that in the SU3 beta. And just like Seb said, if there are still issues popping up, give us that feedback during the beta period, and we'll try to make sure we get that fixed for SU3.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. All right, in our general section, loving the sim, but the setup of peripherals is still a major pain point for me. Are there any plans to improve or simplify this process?
Yeah, so I discussed with the design team, and they said that in Sim Update 2 there was already 28 improvements on this peripheral setup page, and there are still 10 more planned for Sim Update 3. And same thing. After that, if there's more feedback or ideas or requests, feel free to share these, and the team will look at them and try to implement or fix them as soon as they can. And 10 more coming in Sim Update 3 on this issue.
Thanks, Seb. We'll take a question from chat. This user says, I see SU2 marked VRAM usage as solved, but there are many new posts about this. Could we expect some more work on VRAM usage improvement, or is that it?
No, so I think probably in the last Q&A we said that Sim Update 2 would have some fixes. I think it was around a gigabyte in some situations, but it was definitely not all fixes. The team is working on further improvements and optimizations on that side. It was just the first step on the VRAM optimizations with Sim Update 2.
Okay, thank you. When can we expect to be able to download content locally? I know this was asked before the Sim Update 3 beta comes out, so I think people might know the answer to this one now.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's I mean, for those who are beta testing, and thank you very much for doing this, and you may have noticed that it's now available in Sim Update 3. Once this has been tested, it's going to be released with Sim Update 3. If you want to have it or try it out early, you can enroll in the beta program. Plan for Sim Update 3.
Perfect. Will a refreshed timeline bug list for FS 2020 be returning to the weekly developer updates?
Yes, I will do that. I'll try it. I might try it for, it's tomorrow, right? How about next week? I'll do it next week.
Okay, thanks, Jorg. What are your focus areas for Sim Update 3?
So right now on the Asobo side, we're still very much focused on bug fixing. It's our primary focus. There was some big requests like the download local install feature and a lot of optimizations such as VRAM or other optimizations in many areas. But number one is still bug fixing.
Okay.
Wait, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think my answer is pretty similar. Most of the team has been focused on sort of pushing through SU2 and SU3 bug fixes in as many areas as we can. We've got updates to aircraft and avionics for SU3 again, but also a ton of work on areas like ATC, live traffic, model matching, livery matching, and those kind of areas as well. So there's a lot of work going on there in addition. So yeah, those are our big focus areas for SU3.
Yeah, and then the other teams that I represent here, like so for example, iBuilds has been working hard to make their planes career compatible. So there's a lot of questions here in the chat about where's the heavy and super heavy transport missions. We have confidence that this will happen for Sim Update 3. It's not quite in the beta yet, but progress is being made. And with that will come things like the C-17. So all the airplane creators are working super hard to get their planes clean based on all the feedback that they're getting. And I just want to highlight, because there was a question last time, I think Hype has found a solution to go make forward progress on the 225, which is great. And thank you, Stephen, for chatting with me about this the other day. And then Gaia, yeah, they've been optimizing airports, and they're currently working on POIs. And then right after that, we'll do another pass at ships. And outside of that, they started to work on future world updates. But yeah, tons of stuff, tons of things will come in SU3.
Great. A question in chat: are there also going to be further improvements to VR in SU3?
Yeah, I think there already was a few in the if you look in the you can already check out the build notes of SU3, and there was already a few, and yeah, it's a continuous focus on our side.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One more chat question here. Will the option to disable static aircraft and fauna still be added to Xbox as discussed in previous dev streams?
I know it's on the backlog, and I've discussed this with design. I don't know exactly when.
Still on the radar. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Sounds great. All right, next question. Can you share some analysis based on telemetry data? For example, usage of 2020 versus 2024, the change in stability of 24 since launch, usage between platforms?
So I'm not allowed to share actual telemetry data, but I can tell you the stories. I mean, basically, obviously, 2024 had a massive influx of new users at launch that has since then subsided. These are typically non-simmers that are checking out the new releases because it looks awesome. Where we are right now is there are more people playing 2024 than 2020, but there's a fair number of you playing 2020, of course, still, and that's cool. But the other question was about stability since launch. I mean, we track stability on a weekly basis, and stability is getting better. I mean, that's obviously one of the main purposes of the sim updates. So I don't have specific stats. I think we're sort of in the 90% range right now. Depends on the platform. But yeah, hopefully that's useful.
Okay, thank you. Since you guys seem to enjoy your time at Oshkosh, do you think we'd ever make a custom scenery from the dev team? Thank you for your time and answers. Hope to meet you guys at Oshkosh.
I was surprised by that because I thought we had a photogrammetry of Oshkosh, but I think what you're asking for is the actual airport, which I think that's a good idea. And we're not going to Oshkosh this year, which kind of bums me out. But we are thinking about going next year. So how about I make a deal with you? We'll do something next year. Like Oshkosh.
Nice. Yeah, it'd be cool to get the circles on the airport. That'd be fun to do the approach. All right. Will we see Microsoft at Flight Sim Expo 2025?
So that's another one. So we've been to the expo twice in Houston and in Vegas, and we loved it. I remember Seb and I had a great time, and the team did too when we were on the show floor. The passion, the optimism of the people that go to that event is really infectious, and we always come back energized, quite frankly. It's really wonderful. But this year we are really, and I mean that 100% committed to pushing as hard as we can to address all your feedback on 2024. So we are skipping the show. But I can only say the best things about the show. If you care about the hobby, if you want to meet like-minded people that really care about aviation, this is a show you should attend. And we can't be there, but if you go to the next slide, we'll be there sort of virtually. Oh yeah, this is a slide from Evan. I think they're doing a great job actually with the show. So please go if you're sort of on the fence. This is something we should support as a hobby. Next slide. So we oftentimes try to do something when we go to the show and to have some goodies. And in this case, City Update 11 will launch on the day of the show, so the 27th. And this is in fact Providence, Rhode Island. So we actually got it scanned this year just for the show. And we will add a bunch of other cities in the Northeast. The reason why I didn't put the full list here is because right now it's way too many, but we'll have a lot, and I think you'll love the update. And now what that? Yeah. Also, so we had this. I had this idea. It's like, oh, it's the expo. Let's launch all kinds of stuff, sim updates for flights in 2020 and 2024, and a city update. And then I talked to both the team that said, Jorg, really doing 3 things on the same day is not a good idea. So we moved it out by a week. It's now on July 1st. And then I was saying, Seb and I in the past have said we're going to do at least one big sim update for 2020, and that we're committed to that. And this is the first one since last September. And talking you through the specifics is our special guest. Dun, dun, dun. Been a while. Lionel is here. You might remember him from holding the globe, and we launched 2020. So it's the head of Emirates.
Welcome, Lionel. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. And thank you, Jorg, for the introduction. So we'll be talking a little bit about Sim Update 16. As Jorg explained, we made some changes to Sim Update 16. So I will go quickly through the list. We're updating the GDK, which is the game development kit, what we use to build the game for PC and for Xbox. And the reason we are doing this update is mainly because it brings some improvements when it comes to memory management. So in particular on Xbox Series S, we will have some more memory available for the title, which will make it so that it will improve its stability. Then the switch to lib curl and dex curl is mostly an internal thing in terms of how we communicate with HTTP. The memory swapping is an improvement we made on Flight Sim 2024 when it comes to memory management on Xbox as well, that we are backporting to Flight Sim 2020. Mouse keyboard support for xCloud is something we had running for a while, and that we can finally finish. And the backport support for TIN and ZSTD formats are linked to what we'll be talking about afterwards, which is the switch to new URLs, DEM, and world data in general for Flight Sim 2024. I will let Chris talk a bit about the working title part.
Sure. Yeah. So we've got a number of fixes and improvements to avionics, a couple of aircraft that are generally things that are already in 2024 that we're pulling back into 2020 to make sure that there's parity there. So we've got big updates for the Epic 2 and the UNS. Those were both launched after AAU3 last year, and so these have kind of the biggest updates, but there's also updates to the other avionics packages, the Garmins as well as the WT21, some fixes we brought back on the Boeing avionics, and then there are a few nav data items. There's a Magvar update as well as some improvements that you can look at in the changelog if you want some more detail, but sort of general improvements across the board there.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. All right, back to you, Lionel.
Yeah. I wanted to talk in particular when it comes to the changes we are making for what we call the world data alignment between Flight Sim 2020 and Flight Sim 2024, where we want to have a more unified world. So what we will do is we'll update the data in Flight Sim 2020 to use the same as Flight Sim 2024, and we are backporting the changes needed to support some new formats in some cases. So it's coming with Sim Update 16, already available in flighting, and we count on the flighting to help highlight any needed adjustments to POIs or reports or anything that would be affected by the changes in data. So what will change here? So the aerial images will get updated. The DEM, digital aviation map, so will also be updated, and we will be using the new lossless compression scheme that we are using for Flight Sim 2024 that will fix some issues, in particular in mountainous areas due to compression. We're updating the vector data for roads, building footprints, and water bodies. And the generic airports data will get updated also. So we are automatically adjusting it to the new aerial images. The teen city photogrammetry data, it's already the same between both sims, so we are not changing those. And the countries, except for the notable exception of the countryside one, where for things like Grand Canyon or Glacier National Park, we'll not port those to Flight Sim 2020 because it's too many changes. So what will not be updated? So we are not backporting all of the work that we've made for more than a year on Flight Sim 2024 technical systems for rendering the world better. So like you will not get the 3D trees, seasons and snow, ground details, crop fields and cliff mapping, and photometric rendering. Yes, this is like a lot of work that has been made for Flight Sim 2024. So I wanted to show some examples of what this would look like. So this is an example in the US. So this is what it looks like in AIU 3. And I wanted to highlight some examples in the image. So like here, for example, we can have the case of wrongly flagged data for river. It usually happens when we have water that is underground. It can sometimes appear flagged and we display it anyway. And another case here is for trees, where the new trees mask is the one from Flight Sim 2024, which is derived from our ground surface type analysis, which is machine learning based. So it's more precise than the one we had in Flight Sim 2020. So next we can see what it looks like after the update. So this is what it looks like in Sim Update 16, where we can see that the trees mask is more precise and the wrong river is not present anymore. So thank you, Jayne, for switching between both so we can see the difference. And the other example I wanted to show was an example in Spain. Jayne, please. Nope. Yes. Thank you. So can you go to the next slide? So we can. Thank you. We can see an example here where the trees are wrongly detected, and so this is from Flight Sim 2020 in a screenshot from AAU 3. So what is currently live. And after the update for aerial data, vegetation mask, vector data, etc., this is what it looks like. So the wrong trees are removed. We're using the new vegetation mask. The aerials are more up to date. And for comparison, this is what it looks like in Flight Sim 2024 right now. So of course, it's not perfect, but we can see things like the cliff mapping or the 3D trees. Or even just general work that happened on trees and seasons and the way we render vegetation in general. So which help give a better rendering, even though it's from the same data as Flight Sim 2020. So the tech mainly is a difference here. So that's it for me, I think.
Awesome. Thank you, Lionel. This is great work. I mean, I'm I care about our digital twin, and it's wonderful that you bring this back to 2020. So yay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that and for joining us on stream. And looks like Chad says great work, Lionel and team. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Next for you, Jorg.
Yeah, I said we heard you. So we're actually making a slight adjustment to the Microsoft Flight. You always called it Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. We didn't. And now the 2024 is out. We actually get feedback from consumers saying, hey, we're confused. So I think it's next week or something. We're going to make a little in bracket. You'll just see it in some stores and stuff. Like Microsoft Flight Simulator is now going to be Microsoft Flight Simulator brackets 2020. So just an FYI. It's not a big deal. All right.
Okay, our next Q&A session. Chat, feel free to ask some questions, and we'll go over some of them. Our categories right now are aircraft, ATC, career, and activities. So if you have any questions in those areas, feel free to ask. All right, first question. Is there a reason why back on track cannot be disabled in free flight? This is, I think, for you, Chris. Or Seb.
I think Seb can
Seb.
answer this.
So I talked to the design team on this. So they said they plan to add an option to force the crash screen instead of the back on track feature. In the meantime, pausing the game after back on track will offer you the option to restart our main menu, which is available in the crash screen. So they're working on it. There's a plan and they're working on it.
This has been a feature request for a while, but is there any progress or thoughts on implementing multiple jetway support for aircraft?
So I would say it this way. We are currently working through the bug list with full speed. And then once we're done with the bug list, we'll go to the wish list. That's how I think about it. So give us a few months before we tackle this again.
Fair. Can we expect any further updates for the ATR? And I suppose that any other planes that fall into that category as well? Getting lots of about very specific planes, but just generally those.
I mean, in general, like there are some planes we didn't upgrade to 2024. Mostly the things what we later sold in the Aviator edition, but basically our 30 payware planes. Yeah. I think we'll take this on a case by case basis. We have done a few. We are in conversations with a few. I need to make sure that the developer is up for it. There's things like that. And the ATR is our Expert Series plane, so you should bank on this, that this is going to get upgraded. I saw some questions, Chris. I mean, they ask you, but it's really not a working title thing, right? So basically, working title, I think, owns 8 planes or so, thereabouts, or 9, something like that. But the working title team doesn't have an art team, so this is on me, and I've been looking for the appropriate art team to help them fix the remaining art bugs for stuff like the 747. So that is going to come. I hope most of it will be done with Sim Update 3. Some of it might be a little bit later because there's a fair number of issues that need to be addressed, but it's fully understood and we track these things closely. But don't look at working title. That's not their fault.
All right. Thank you. All right, on ATC, I noticed some improvements in the 2024 Sim Update 2 beta when it comes to CTAF airspace without ATC. How is progress in general on live traffic models, airline liveries, and ATC?
Yeah, so I have to talk about both these and maybe just kind of answer the next question.
Sure.
Sort of in the same bundle here. So yeah, we've made pretty significant progress on ATC for SU2. There's a bunch more coming in SU3. Some of that you'll already see in the SU3 beta, so you can kind of check out the improvements there. In general, it's been a combination of fixing what we sort of term as regressions, features or things that worked well in 2020 that for some reason weren't working well in 2024. So those items have taken a fairly high priority. Most of those got tackled in SU2. There are some speech and language issues, some phraseology issues, and then some features that just weren't quite working right. So a lot of that's been cleaned up, either in SU2 or in SU3. There's also some stuff that sort of veers a little bit into the feature land. So one of the things that we added was awareness for ATC for arrival procedures and the arrival airport. So the ATC engine did not really have awareness to that before. So now it will be aware of what your arrival procedure is as of SU3 and be able to give you instructions that don't violate those procedures. So I know that's been kind of a big core sim complaint for a while. So that's one of the bigger items for SU3 as well. And then sort of pivoting to the other part of this first question about kind of live traffic models and liveries. And this sort of goes back to the multiplayer question from the very beginning as well. They're all a little bit bundled together. So there's a couple things that we've been working on. One is the actual model matching itself and making sure that we're taking advantage of all the awesome models that have been added in for 2024. So that we've got huge updates for in Sim Update 3. You should definitely see major improvement in terms of the model matching. The generic models that we still saw kind of popping up are gone as of SU3, or should be completely gone. In terms of both model and livery matching, there were some differences between how it was done with 2020 models versus 2024 models, because the new aircraft are modular, and so there's a bit of a different structure for them. So a ton of work's gone into just understanding that and making sure that the matching process understands both types of models and will parse them correctly. So let's see, did I miss anything from my list here? Oh yeah, so okay, we've added fallbacks. So there's kind of logical model and livery fallbacks. So if you are in if there's a plane that we don't have or that you don't have in your sim that is part of live traffic, we've got now kind of a table of fallbacks. So you'll get something logical that will replace it. We've got something similar with liveries where we sort of pay attention to what airlines are in what regions based on the live traffic stream. And this affects the static parked aircraft as well. So you should see far fewer instances where you get, like an Air New Zealand plane in Europe or something like that. So that also should be mostly addressed. And let's see. Okay, there's also some work on the actual behavior of the AI or live traffic, particularly on the ground at the airport. So there were some just bugs with that behavior that got fixed as well. So we should see fewer traffic jams, fewer situations where the planes are kind of spinning at gates or on taxiways, improved behavior of how planes kind of enter and exit runways. And let me make sure that I got everything. I guess the last point I would make there is one of the kind of unexpected benefits or side effects of these changes is we're seeing better perf, I think including in VRAM, but certainly in terms of just kind of loading times at big airports, both when you spawn into them as well as when you're approaching them. So that was kind of a cool byproduct that we saw there too. So, and then the last part of the question, which is, I guess, is really the next question. I would say we're incrementally improving, right? We're sort of iterating through, first trying to fix regressions, then trying to fix kind of long-standing issues. So we definitely have been full speed ahead on these fixes through SU2 and SU3, and there is more stuff on our list to do for SU4. We have to kind of come back after SU3, assess where we are, like Jorg said, look at wish list versus bug items and just try to figure out where do we go from here. But yeah, I think we're taking an incremental approach to kind of make sure we get these things addressed. So I think that's the totality of what I have to say on that subject.
Perfect.
Sorry for the monologue.
All good. We love it. We love it. There's ATC question in chat. Is there also regional differences taken into account when it comes to phraseology, like US versus EU airspaces?
No, I mean, I would sort of point to what I just said about kind of how we're approaching this. Regional differences is definitely something that would be cool to do, but it's also definitely like a new feature request and something that I think we would consider as part of that wish list to do in the future. So definitely something we've talked about internally a lot. What are the differences for the common regions like Europe and the US, but also in sort of less common regions, and how might we do that? So we've had some technical conversations about it, but there's no definitive plan on how we would implement that right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Chris. Last question here. Are there plans to reintroduce an AI pilot, AI control of the aircraft by a co-pilot for those who need it?
Yes, and the team is working on it right now. It's work in progress.
Exciting. Cool. Thanks, Seb. All right, moving on to career and activities. What additional career mode features are being considered?
Yeah, I mean, all kinds. The good news about the career is that it exceeded our expectations. Like, a lot more people are playing career. We always thought like maybe a third of people are playing career and 70% play free flight. It's not been true. Korea is actually just almost exactly even with free flight. So we talk a lot about what can we do. There's obviously some aircraft types that are not yet supported, like fixed wing firefighters that are just tanked up instead of filling the tank. Helicopters do firefighting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of these types of things. I mean, I would say to you this way: it would be really great to get feedback via the feedback snapshot from you guys, because we are paying attention to it. So it's in some ways vote, what you want to see, and then we'll take it from there. But yeah, the ambitions are definitely there to keep going and make more.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Jorg. I think this has been answered. Will you continue to keep career progress separate from the retail build for future betas?
Yes, it's separate.
Yeah. What's been the advantage of doing that you've seen just even from the last beta?
Well, it doesn't, if something doesn't go right, it prevents people from ruining their progress. So, I mean, it's a beta, right? So it's good to have it in its own environment. So feedback has been positive, so we'll keep doing it.
Okay. Can you share with us why bush planes, one of the much used and liked features in 2020, is still not included in 2024? Do you have a definite answer when this will be back?
Bush trips. So honestly, there were bugs in 2020, as you probably know, and we heard a lot about this, and we just did not have time to go fix those for launch. So this is something we might try something for Sim Update 4, but I wouldn't be surprised if it takes to Sim Update 5. But we like bush trips too. So it'll come back. It's just a question of when.
Yep. When can we expect to start seeing third-party aircraft or missions in the career mode?
I agree. No, I mean, seriously, we want, obviously, the career is built to embrace all aircraft, and I can't wait for third parties to do this. We actually, the Asobo team built a tool. Chris was involved in building that tool with them, or at least being an external sort of view of it, and he's going to take us a little bit through what has been done.
Yeah, great. So yeah, certainly props to Eric and others who are on the Asobo SDK team, and a bunch of people actually who collaborated with people at Microsoft's QA team, people from our team, to try to figure out what is the best way to move forward with ensuring a smooth process for getting third-party aircraft into career, because I know that's something that all of us want to see. We want to see our favorite planes in the career. So I'm just going to run through this kind of quickly. This is really mostly for developers who are trying to build these planes and get them in, but we're going to talk a little bit about sort of overall requirements, and then I'll just show you briefly updated documentation, updated tools that really should help streamline this whole process. So first of all, it's worth just saying that the aircraft that get ingested into the marketplace through the regular marketplace process will now be automatically assessed for career compatibility. So there's no extra thing that has to happen. There's no extra button that has to be pushed. Everything that gets ingested will get assessed for career. And that's the only path. I think that's important to say too, right? That's the only path to get into career, is to ingest it through the marketplace tool. With that said, and I'll look at the documentation, it basically, in order to be assessed and enter into career, they have to have all the appropriate configuration criteria. They have to have the career opt-in flags for whatever mission types the aircraft is intended for. And so, yeah, let's move on to the next slide, and we'll just kind of walk through this. So first of all, big documentation update. This is the most important section. There's a whole career compatibility documentation section that's under content configuration, career activities. And there are general career mode requirements, which is where I've put my poorly drawn red arrow. And then under it, there's kind of details for each different specialization. So there are overall requirements, and then there are requirements kind of per specialization. We spent a lot of time working through this documentation to make sure that there were good kind of cross links between the different areas. So yeah, we can move on, but there's tons of documentation now about how to get all the pieces of this right.
Quick clarification question from chat.
Sure.
So the only version sold through the marketplace would have career capabilities?
I
think that's Jorg. You want to answer that one?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. There were reasons behind it that I know it needed to be on our server. Seb, do you remember exactly how we got here?
And also, I guess that if it's not through the marketplace, it doesn't have any validation tool
That's
or
true.
anything else. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the validation tool sort of checks that it's actually gonna work, and so that it's actually gonna work and that it's gonna work properly, so that there's not gonna be any cheating or any craziness, and that cannot be enforced if it's coming from, if it's a mod or whatever, which would be which could allow to either cheat in the career or break the career or do any sorts of stuff. So I think that was probably the main reason behind it. I can ask if there's anything else, but that's what I think is the main reason. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. All right, back to you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things you'll see in the documentation and that we'll see in the tools when we get there in a slide or two is that there are just a ton of parameters and requirements for all of the career hooks to work. And I think, like Seb said, it's just important that those work, because otherwise users will just have a bad experience. So we need to make sure that the aircraft are set up correctly for the career. And to do that, we have to have an ingestion process that can check all those things. So anyways, yeah, so I think, so there's also, right. So this is there's two tools. Sorry, I got off track there. So if we go back one slide,
Sure.
There are two new tools that have been added. One is the, what we call internally the package analyzer, but it's really the career compatibility tool. And that's part of the sim object editor. And I'm just pointing out here, there's new documentation explaining how to use this. That came new with SU2. So you'll be able to find this there. It's under the sim object editor in developer mode section of the documentation. So this is where, if you were on the web right now and you scroll down, you'd see all the instructions on how to use this. Next slide. And then the career tool is the other tool. And this is a tool that allows you to actually test an aircraft in career while you're developing it to make sure that that whole process works. And again, here just kind of showing there's a new documentation that goes along with that, again, in the SU2 docs, and that's under developer mode, menus, tools, and the career tool. So that's the new documentation. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so the career compatibility tool, I just want to talk about a little bit. This is a tool that you run on your sim object, so on your actual aircraft project as a developer, to validate whether or not you've set up all the static parameters correctly. So that's things like navigation graphs, any of the required pre-flight items, that your opt-ins for the careers are correct, and basically every parameter that is documented also gets checked here, and it gives you a really quick, and you can go to the next slide, gives you a really quick kind of green-red, is this thing going to work in career or not? And if not, why not? So at the top of the career compatibility tool, there are 3 tabs. There's like an initialization tab, the specialization tab, and then the equipment tab. Each of those tabs involve a feedback item that gives you a simple red-green, are you good to go or not for this part of career. So under specialization, each different type of mission is represented by a subsection. So in this case, remote cargo ops is the item we've got expanded at the bottom. We can see we don't pass that right now. And then all of these items below are what are the things that are good to go and what are the things that need work. And one of the pieces that we spent a lot of time on was making sure that everything that's in this feedback list is in the documentation. So this is what the career compatibility tool does. The only other thing I want to say about this tool is this is the identical tool that gets run during the ingestion process. So when you ingest an aircraft to the marketplace, that tool will run automatically. And if it's green to go, it gets dropped into career. If it's not good to go, the ingestion will fail. So that's kind of how that works. And then the last piece here, just quickly on the career tool, it lets you pick an aircraft. So you can take the aircraft you're developing and drop it into any type of mission. So you get a plane on the left and a mission on the right. It's a really easy to use tool. And you can just fly that mission with your aircraft and make sure everything works. And the things we want to look for there are things like, do the shortcuts in the upper right corner work? Can you skip to the different phases of flight and the plane doesn't fall out of the air, things like that. So that's what this tool is used for. So combined together, we now believe we've got a set of tools and a set of documentation that third parties should be able to go kind of from start to finish and get their aircraft into career mode. So yeah, again, awesome work. Tons and tons of effort went into making sure we got every parameter right. So huge props to the team at Asobo for getting that all together for us for SU3.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate the overview. Before we leave the subject, Jorg, do you have anything to add before we move on to
I was
update
reading
3?
the thread. I mean, I think there's good feedback in here. We'll look into this.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Sim Update 3.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. I just wanted to say we are targeting the week after Sim Update 16. It's not 100% locked, but this is at least our target. And to give you an update of where we are, so I actually just updated this for tomorrow's release. So this is where we are. I basically deleted everything that was fixed for, Sim Update 2 or before, and basically repopulated the top 100 or so. And the team is working on pretty much everything in the top 24, and then we prioritize this way, right? So you can see it gets thinned out as we go further down. But in the coming weeks, we will continue to update this, and we should get another 50 or so fixes out of the new top 100.
Awesome. Thanks for that update. Okay, we are into our last Q&A. This particular section is about the marketplace.
Marketplace, yes, it's probably me. No, first one's not.
All right, buckle up. This is a long question. All right, could you clarify whether Marketplace purchased DLC aircraft will still need to be unlocked with career mode credits in order to be used in career mode? The Marketplace wording currently says that there's a certain number of Simverse coins will be redeemed for the aircraft, which might be confusing. Some players may assume this means the aircraft will be unlocked for use in career mode right away, but it seems Simverse coins are just the standardized currency for purchases, not related to credits. Will this system change in the future?
So the question is answering the question. It's correct. Simverse coins are just a currency for the marketplace and have nothing to do with the career. It is completely unrelated. And so if there's some confusing language on the store, marketplace, or some other stores, it needs to be clarified. Simverse coins is really only marketplace currency. Anything in the sim in the career is credits, completely unrelated, and you can't buy one with the other or transfer or anything. It's completely separate currency.
Great. Thanks, Seb. And from chat, why do we use Simverse coins instead of just real money purchases? Who'd like to answer that one?
In the marketplace?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think there's a background, technical background behind that.
I think our backend is called PlayFab. They do everything in VC packs, which is kind of for gamers it's typically normal, but for simmers it's completely not. So while that is our backend, we actually show both money and VC things. So it's all based on our backend.
Okay. Can you comment on the pace of third-party in-sim marketplace releases versus when they come out on external marketplaces? Is this something being improved upon?
Oh my God. Oil on my fire. Yeah, so no, I agree with you that it's way too slow, and we looked into why is it that we are not as fast as other marketplaces. It doesn't make any sense. And it was twofold, frankly. It was we translate everything. So in foreign languages. And then the second thing is we have another test pass that we do on top of what the developer does. And I basically try to deregulate this as much as possible. We no longer translate everything. Certainly, we actually started by not forcing it to be translated in time. And then when we said, let's see if anybody complains if there's no translation. And guess what? 0 people have said anything. It's like, okay, maybe we did something that nobody really wanted. So and it made us slower. So that's not cool. And the second thing is we're also going to stop testing. We're just going to have to rely on the developers to do a good job testing their own stuff. and put it in the marketplace, because that's what everybody else does. So the idea is that we shouldn't be any slower, probably also not faster, but not any slower than anybody else.
Okay. Thanks,
So
Jorg.
I'm looking forward to that too. Trust me, it's driving me crazy.
The 2024 marketplace is right now pretty hard to browse. I'm particularly missing the names of the creators in the thumbnail pictures without mousing over them. The last point even affects the weekly update from you, where we can't see who made the new releases from images in the update. Is there going to be a change to that in the future?
Yeah, we got the feedback, and we had already design meetings with the UI team, and they are working on fixes. Everybody wants the name, that's clear, and there's other things. People wanted extra filters, so there's an active conversation about all this going on. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but I know people are working on it.
Yeah. All right. I see some questions about rentals, so I think, Jorg, you have some things to say on this.
Oh, yes. Look at that. It's live. Yes. Anyway, so we did it like, I think 2 days ago or something. And this is, I think of this as a test. So we just picked 3 of our first party aircraft and said, let's make rentals. And so the way it works is, if you go to the next slide, you click on one of those things, and then you can basically, in this case, it's the C90, and you can pick 1 day, 3 days, 7 days. And I've seen people start doing it, which is awesome. And I'm curious about how this is going to go. I think this was all about let people try it before buying or making a big purchase. And I'm hopeful this is going to make people happy. So I just added 2 slides with the other ones just to show it. But yeah, and then with that, there's also gifting, which is the other one that we talked about. There's a lot of work that has been done. There are some concerns that we are currently working through. It's mostly sort of on the back end. But I'm still very hopeful that gifting will show up here at some point pretty soon. So I'm not giving up on it. I want it badly, but at least we have rentals. So if you're up for it, rent something.
Nice.
And then this is a marketplace section. So I just want to say, developers, as you know, went through a little bit of a hard time as we have this transition between 2 sims and all the uncertainty that came with it. So to help matters, we are doing a 2-week top-rated aircraft sale we invited the top 100 aircraft from a rating perspective. They're slightly different on both platforms, but if you're up for it, that's currently going on. Yeah, and then expert series, like we talked about this a lot, the ATR, and then the second expert series, we announced it during the Brazil, there was an event I went to in Sao Paulo. This is a collaboration between Working Title and Asobo, and Chris is going to show you a little bit what's going on.
Cool. Thanks, Jorg. Yeah, we're super excited about this aircraft. I know this was announced back in March, so we're excited to share some initial progress. It's worth saying that work on this and collaboration with Embraer started before then, and progress on the model is already awesome. So let's dive into that. The first thing we'll show is just some of the details of kind of what I would say the early modeling. And yeah, as Jorg said, we're working with Benjamin and a number of others over at the Asobo team who are handling all the art, and we're super, super excited about what they're doing there. There's tons of details. So you can just pop through some of these, Jayne. I think there's 5 or 6 model shots. So really, really good looking interior coming along with some cool interactive features, a lot of detail being added to, high detail parts like landing gear, lighting, LED lighting. We can just keep going through these, but it's really a beautiful model. And so we're really excited about the progress there. Cool. And now I'll talk a little bit about systems. So I want to say, first of all, we're sort of trying to set a new standard for Expert Series aircraft in 2024. We want to make absolutely everything possible interactive, working, and fully realistic. So yeah, the complete cockpit modeling with no inoperable controls, that'll be the case. All electrical circuits are going to be modeled. The HUD will be fully functional. We've got support for all the different types of display layouts, including display reversion, accurate data sourcing for the displays. All those things are planned. What we're looking at in this picture is just a really early work in progress. In fact, all these pictures I would say are really early work in progress, but we did want to share it. So you'll see some screens that aren't quite done. And I'll just say for transparency, you'll see on that picture, we've got some PFD imagery, and that's actually reference imagery that we use and put onto the instrument as we actually write the code, so that PFDs are not fully completed. But that FMS on the lower screen here that you're looking at is real code live running right now. We've got the FMS almost completely modeled already. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So this aircraft uses the Proline Fusion. It's fully modeled with 2 fully simulated flight management systems running on separate modules, calculating their own outputs individually. We've got a complete set of Fusion flight planning tools that are planned for the FMS, including things like alternates, multiple destinations, secondary flight plan and wind uplink, pilot waypoints, offsets, all this kind of stuff that people have been asking for over the years that we'll finally see come to life in this aircraft. So we're super excited about that. I wanted to talk a little bit about the level of detail that we're going into in the simulation modeling, but I'm not going to talk to you for 2 hours. So I'm just going to give you an example for the positioning systems, the level of detail we're going into. So we'll have an IRS system with accurate gyrocompassing alignment times, right, based on aircraft latitude, noise, drift characteristics. We're simulating all 5 navigation modes, so GNSS, including like SBAS accuracy and error, DME modes, DME VOR modes, AHARS IRS, and dead reckoning. The sensors will generate their own position estimates each, and they'll provide uncertainty figures. Those details are then used by all of the aircraft systems like synthetic vision, the map, the FMS. So we're not using a 100% accurate GPS location. We're using the calculated position based on all of these simulated systems. And then we'll have accurate reversions and sensor failures, all those kind of things. So yeah, really, really full, deep simulation of systems. And then one other thing that's new for 24, we're using the SDK for building a custom EFB app for the Praetor. So this is going to be really cool. We hope it's also kind of an example for developers going forward, so that to show how to build a custom aircraft app within the EFB framework in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. So this is just really early, but it kind of shows you a main menu of an app that is just for the Praetor, that lets you get into different study screens, profiling internal aircraft systems, data showing the real-time simulation of systems, sensors, data buses, and even the ability to kind of enable or disable individual systems, sensors, valves, circuits, all of this to give you that real expert series experience. So yeah, that's the first update. We probably will have more updates through these streams or elsewhere over the coming months as we continue the development process. But we're all super excited about this aircraft and this project. Yeah, so cool.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chris.
Sure.
All right, if I can go back to just a couple questions I saw when you talked about renting, Jorg.
Yes, I saw those too.
Yeah. First one will be, do the third parties get to decide on the rental prices, whether it's free or $1 or $2, or is that decided? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all variant, right? Because things cost different things, so the rental costs different things, but it's up to them.
Okay. And if you rent a plane and decide you want to buy it, do you get a discount on the purchase price of that plane?
So the way it works is, so it's based on my experience renting movies on television, getting very mad when I rent and I then buy, that I have to pay the full price, and it drives me mad. So what we do here, and I think it's for financial reasons, I think when you rent, you have, I want to say 7 or 8 days or something to decide if you want to buy it. And then that rental price gets totally rolled into gets deducted from the total cost.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you, Jorg.
But
we'll move on.
We're looking at it right now, because we saw the first, like it took like 10 for the first person rented something, like so we'll see if you love it, right? I mean, I think the parties we're going to go first, because I think it's new, and I think this is totally fair that first party is trying something and see if it resonates. But I know third parties want to do it.
Yeah. Great. All right, on to your make good aircraft number 3.
But so somebody said that earlier. Hey, what about the third aircraft? Yep, that's right. So it's coming, and it's coming with the expo, and it is the it's our first Piper. Yay! Because I don't know if you remember, we after a good long while we finally licensed Piper, and this is a Piper PA-28 Dakota 236 from Coronado, and that will be free for everybody on 2024, coming on June 27th.
Awesome. And to review our roadmap now.
Yeah, I just filled out the things that we talked about. So there's a new city update there in June, and then there's the flying the famous Fly 12, and then just put a date behind Sim Update 3. And as I said earlier, the local legend is, so we had a world update that just didn't fit. It was in the middle of Sim Update 2, focus. So we moved it out by a bit. But the local legends, they're coming later this year. But I saw a couple of other questions, Jayne. Maybe we can do a couple of open mic things. So I saw quite a few things that I know about. So I'll talk about it. About the Pelican, the Ornithopter, just to say it, because I saw it like 7 times or 8 times. The Pelican is easy because we own it. The Ornithopter is not easy because it's basically a movie license, and we only have the movie license for 2020. I fully intend to ask them, kind of like what I tried to do with Top Gun, to get an extension, and in this case to ask if we can bring this to 2024. But it really is up to the movie makers. But I actually love flying the Ornithopter around, so I would like to see it in 2024. And if they allow it, we will make it.
Perfect.
And then somebody said multiple times about because this is important to me, the Airbus Helicopter 225 from Hype, because it's a big deal. So Hype has added someone to the team, and they're addressing the remaining bugs. And I think that was great. Stephen called me, and it was a really good conversation. And then somebody else asked about why is the Saab not purchasable in the store? It wasn't purchasable because it wasn't ready for Korea, and there were a couple of other bugs we wanted to fix before we make this really purchasable. It's the same. There's 4 other planes. People talked about some of the art bugs on some of the working pilot planes. We want to get those fixed before we make that a standalone purchase. And it's in the next 2 months or so. This is all going to be gone. But the Saab will come. I actually just talked to the marketplace team a few days ago. It's really up to them finding a good slot for it. Maybe it's next week. I don't know, but it's ready.
Cool. All right, what about existing local legends planes for 2024? Are any going to be made native for 2024?
It's kind of what I tried to say before. So not every developer is still working on these planes, right? So sometimes I have to go, like, for example, Orbex made the Fokker F7. That team doesn't even exist anymore, so I need to move it to someone else. So some of these have been done, not all of them. So I think, but do I want to bring them all to 2024? Yes. But I don't know timelines for everything yet.
Mm-hmm.
There was some stuff about WASM. Like I saw it a few times. I wish we could talk about it. So if you wouldn't mind repeating the question, and maybe Seb, you can say something, or Chris.
I'm not sure if this was it, but I do have a WASM question here.
Okay.
Lots of add-ons are using WASM to operate within the sim. One issue we have when flying is a WASM crash where the aircraft or add-on becomes unusable and a sim restart is needed. What is the reason that WASM can't be restarted after a crash to continue on with the flight?
I don't know at all why we can. Yeah, I don't know I don't know what. There's probably crash. So what I see is on our side we have a lot of crashes in WASM. So which is possible is that WASM crashes, but it's not just WASM. It's WASM crashes the entire app, and then we can't just restart it. I can ask. I can definitely ask.
I mean, I know Eric is working with RNI builds because we have some issues on some of the Airbuses, including the 350. So there is an active conversation going on about this. I think it's about, I'm not technical enough. I should be quiet. But I can tell you we are aware of it, and we're not just blowing this off. This is a big deal. And Eric is awesome and his team. So, Chris, do you know much about this? I just don't want to leave this thing.
No, I certainly don't know why WASM would or wouldn't be able to be restarted. Like Seb, we just have to ask the right people. I mean, I will say that we've seen lots of bug fixes against WASM stuff go in both, especially for SU3. I know we've put 3 or 4 fixes in for the APIs that we're responsible for that were crash bugs. So there's a lot of work being done against this stuff.
Okay. I'll save that for a follow-up for our next
I mean,
stream.
so we actually talked about doing an SDK to Q&A with Eric and the team, because it's been a good long time, and I think that team is doing really great work. So maybe we have that, or we do it in the next one here. Like either way, it's not being ignored or something, because sometimes I read these messages like, guys, we're not ignoring, like we really try hard. Sometimes they are complicated, right? So we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Confident.
Is there anything to say about any future weather improvements, say to clouds, cloud modeling in particular? I've seen that a few times during the stream.
I mean, as soon as we are through most of the bugs, we'll definitely start looking at wishlist again. And so if this is voted high enough, it's going to be looked at first. I mean, sure, pretty much everything can be improved. So I don't see why weather wouldn't be a good candidate. There's been a few improvements to weather and turbulence in Simulate 2 and 3, but it was really just bug fixes, not big improvements or anything. But there's been improvements on turbulence issues where sometimes it was a bit buggy, and changes on weather types, or when you change the weather, it would jump around on turbulence or stuff like that. For example, if you people may have noticed when you change the wind direction, it used to be instant, and then the plane goes woo, and now it's a slow smoothing over a few seconds. And this would happen if you change from one, or if you change the wind direction yourself. But it could also happen in live weather. Sometimes we get for whatever reason, we get updated weather information which changes a lot, especially on the wind direction. And this is now smoothed out. I know little changes like this, but this was all caused by it was initially fine as bugs. But as soon as we'll start more at the wish list bug list and the bugs, it's definitely something we can put in.
Okay, thanks, Seb. Another question I've seen a lot: users are seeking clarity on whether we plan to allow disabling of some of the UI effects, like the rapid camera zoom-ins when accessing menus, stuff like that, for people to choose if they want them or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I said earlier, right? We collected all the feedback, and there's a work stream, and we will go try to make it good for everyone. So I don't know the specifics on this. We would need to follow up, but
okay.
I think the answer is yes. We're going to do something.
All right. All right, we are closing in on the end of stream here. If there's any last minute questions, Jorg, did you want to answer anything else? If
No.
I mean, I think
I was really happy. I mean, Sim Update 2 was a big effort, right? As you know, we fixed thousands of things. I was really happy about the reaction. I think it was very gracious by many of you. And it really fuels the team to keep pushing forward and making Sim Update 3 and then Sim Update 4 awesome. So I think we're on our way. As I said earlier, like out of the top 120 things, we're like maybe 2/3 through the initial list, and then we keep filling the list up from the bottom. I think the sim is getting better and better and better. And I would just want to say again, thank you for your patience and tolerance, and we're on it.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you in the next dev stream. Just pay attention to the dev blogs on Thursdays. That's always when we announce when the next one will be. Otherwise, have a great rest of your weekend. Hang out with us on our Flying Friday tomorrow. Wait, what is today? Wednesday? On Friday in 2 days, if you want to fly along with us. But until then, have a fantastic week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Take care.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.